Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact.
Hello, everyone. So it's been like a million years since I've done a solo episode. I mean, it's been 2 weeks because I read you a chapter of my book, which thank you for. I've gotten some feedback from you guys, and I just really appreciate. Well, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your words of encouragement and appreciation around this book, because holy shit, you guys, it's a really big deal. I mean, everyone says like writing a book is exhausting. And you know what? The writing of the book itself is actually not the exhausting part. It's the putting it out into the world and marketing it and doing all the publicity and all of that. That's a little nerve-wracking. But I do it with glee. I do it and also a little exhaustion. But it is like, this is like a culmination of my life's work, and like, oh my God, did I get it right? I'm sure I got things wrong. I said to my publishers when they were like, okay, this is the very final draft and you can't make any changes from here on out. I was like, can this be like a Google Doc that I can go in and update when I need to? Apparently it does not work that way. So all that to say, I appreciate you guys. You know, I wanted to just come and talk to you guys. I haven't done that in a while. I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about the holidays because they're coming up. I want to talk a little bit about putting the kids in the middle. I'm going to start there. I was working with a client the other day, and we were talking about, she's just having some issues with navigating life with a high conflict co-parent who's also very like subtle, right? He's like not necessarily subtle, but like a passive aggressive version of a high conflict co-parent, and which is very dangerous because it does lull you into a false sense of security. You feel like, oh, things are okay now and I can sort of relax a little bit, and then they go in for the kill. And so you can never relax with this personality type at all. But we were talking about, she works very hard to not put her daughter in the middle of things. One of the things that we talked about was, her ex will say, they're talking about a holiday or something, and her ex will say, well, I asked X, their daughter, and she said that she wanted to do Y. And then my client would say, well, I asked her and she said she wanted to do Z. And I realized that sort of what was happening was that when we get divorced, very often, like, we don't want to disrupt the children's lives. We don't want to make them feel that they have no power, they have no control, that they're like pawns, flags in the wind of this insane thing that we are kind of doing to them. And so very often, in order to mitigate that, assuage that feeling that our kids might have, we might give them a little too much responsibility and choice and power, right? What I noticed was, I said, your ex asked her the question and she said she wanted to be with him. You asked her the question and she said she wanted to be with you. She's in the middle. She doesn't want to hurt either of you. And I said, I get that. I think what you're trying to do, the intention here, is to try to make her feel like she has agency, that her choices matter. But giving a child that much agency actually ends up putting them in the middle when you don't mean to. I wanted to pass that on because I felt like that's a really important distinction and lesson for all of us, right? We often say to our kids, like, well, what do you want to do? What do you feel like you want to do? And, sometimes that's totally appropriate. And sometimes it's really not, especially when both parents are asking and they just feel like they have to they say children feel the pressure to say what one parent or the other wants to hear in that moment. And they're not really telling you what they want. They're telling you what they think you want to hear. So again, right, I know this is never the intention. It's not about doing anything wrong, but it really is about setting up the dynamic that, at the end of the day, if you were, whether you're married or divorced, kids are kids and they have to do what their parents do or say, or, right, they get dragged along to all sorts of shit that they don't want to do when they're kids. Some of you, take your kids to church every Sunday and maybe your kids don't want to go to church and they're like, and they're rolling their eyes and dragging their feet. But you take them to church because that's something that you believe in and there's a lesson that you want to teach them and things like that. So kids have to do all sorts of things that they don't want to do. That is true in divorce as well. And so we can't just be like, oh, I feel so guilty about the divorce, so therefore I am now going to do everything to make their life as easy as possible and then put choices on them that are not healthy for them. There's that little piece of information I wanted to give you. So the other topic I want to talk about is the holidays. So I was talking to another client the other day, and listen, if you're listening to this and you're like, who are these clients? And, why aren't they me? I would love it to be you. So, you can always check out how to work with me at kateanthony.com. I've got my private coaching and I've got Grit and Grace, both of which are amazing opportunities for you to work with me. And I might have some other stuff coming up after the holidays as well, but we're going to stick to what I've got for now. So I was talking to a client the other night. She was talking about it's her first Thanksgiving in divorce in her new home and with her kids. And she was talking about the sort of the pressure to make it really special with her kids. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she's like, well, I just want to forge new traditions and I want to create new traditions. And it felt like there was this rigidity and the intention, of course, beautiful intention to create something, forge new traditions in this new life with her children. But there didn't seem to be a lot of joy in it for her. And so I said, what if you actually enroll your kids in this conversation and you actually ask them what kinds of traditions they want to forge and what they want Thanksgiving to look like in your house moving forward. And I came up with almost like a game where the kids would each come up with 3 to 5 things that they wanted to do for Thanksgiving, new traditions that they wanted in their new home for Thanksgiving. I told her to invite them to, it can be as wacky and non-Thanksgiving-y as you want it to be. It was a tradition with my son for a few years, a good 5 years. It was a tradition where we went to Mexico every Thanksgiving and we ate tacos with my dad and my stepmom. And that was Thanksgiving and it was the best. Those were the best Thanksgivings I think I've ever had. And it had literally nothing to do with Thanksgiving, right? So I said, look, your kids don't give a shit about turkey and stuffing and all that. So 3 to 5 things. Each kid gets to throw in a hat 3 to 5 things that they want to create for this new Thanksgiving tradition. And then you pull them out of the hat and everybody gets to vote on each one. And you then, the ones with the most votes, everybody gets to choose. And the ones with the most votes are you start to work those around a day or an afternoon or a couple of days, right? And that becomes your new Thanksgiving tradition. And then maybe next year you do it again. And so maybe the creating of a new tradition actually becomes the new tradition, right? I just invite you guys to think about the holidays a little bit differently. I want you to think about the holidays less as, less about I've got to make this perfect or I've got to make this feel like a certain way for my kids, or think about just bringing them into the fold and being like, hey guys, listen, we're doing this thing. Like, this is our first year divorced and we have this opportunity to forge all new traditions. What do you guys want to do? What do you think would be fun? Now, you may be like, you just told us that asking the kids what they want is too much pressure. This is different. Okay. This is like, let's create something new together. And not everybody's ideas are going to win. The whole family's not going to agree on every idea. I just invite you to make this fun and take the pressure off. And if you don't, look, if cooking a turkey and having like a traditional Thanksgiving dinner is really important to you, then you should absolutely have that. 100%. You might have it on Friday. You might have it on, on the Saturday night. I know my mom's friends have their Thanksgiving celebration on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. All of the people that they really want to hang out with for Thanksgiving aren't available on Thanksgiving, like their friends. And so they have their own Thanksgiving on a Sunday before Thanksgiving so that all their friends can actually come. Holidays don't have to, and traditions don't have to be tied to a day. You can actually create something completely different on a different day that works for you, and or you can enroll your kids in like, listen, the whole turkey thing is like really important to me. And so that's one of the things that I really want to have in our day. What's something that's really important to you, right? We work it out that way. My ex and I, it took us years, but we were finally like, hey, guess what? You hate turkey. I hate turkey. Our son hates turkey. How about we make some chicken? And like, right, we don't actually have to eat turkey when we literally don't like it. This is an opportunity, and I just invite you to have fun with it. Please have fun with it. And you know what I also would love? I would love it if you guys would post in the Facebook group what some of your ideas are. If you guys are in my Facebook group, which I hope you are, I want you to go in there and say what your brand new traditions are so that other people can learn and get new ideas and, maybe bring it to the table next year.
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Wait, that's me. I know I have a lot of podcast episodes for you to get through, and it can be really, really overwhelming to try and figure out where to start or to comb through which ones might be appropriate for you, whether you're trying to decide whether to stay or go, or you're already on the other side of the divorce process. Like, how do you know what to listen to? I have solved the problem for you. All you have to do is go to kateanthony.com/playlist. Answer a few short questions, and I will send you a curated list of podcast episodes to best support you as you navigate these tricky waters. I'll also help you identify where you currently stand on this journey and what's ahead, with resources to help you move through this process with knowledge and grace. So all you need to do is go to kateanthony.com/playlist, answer a few short questions, and you will have your curated list of podcast episodes that will support you wherever you are in your journey. And now back to our show.
Okay, the third thing I wanted to talk about is something that I've talked about before, but not recently. I wrote a blog post about it, and I have a pretty sure one of my early podcast episodes on it. But it's about what I have called the shifting of primary. And this has come up a bunch lately with, I think, friends and some clients. So a friend of mine just now was texting me that her boyfriend, they've been together for 2 years, and they're both divorced and they both have kids. And his ex-wife has their children for Thanksgiving. And somehow she found out, for some reason, he told his ex-wife that for the first time, he was bringing my friend, his girlfriend, to Thanksgiving dinner at his parents' house. And this woman lost her mind, and she is abusive, and she she's losing her damn mind over it. And she's making everybody's lives miserable. And she's an abuser. And then now she's abusing the children sort of by proxy, right? To abuse him by proxy. She's abusing the children, not physically, psychologically, emotionally. And, my first question was, why did he tell her that, it's not like he has the kids. She has no business knowing what he's doing for Thanksgiving. And if he's that he's bringing his girlfriend for the first time to his family's house. Literally none of his fucking business. And I wanted to, so I said to her, I said, this is really on him. He has to, because she was like, how can I deal with this? And what can I do? And I was like, there's nothing you can do. This is all on him. When I talk about the shifting of primary, I mean that if you are divorced, your ex is no longer your primary person. They're not your person anymore. Your new person needs to be your person. But you have to create space for that. You have to create space, and that space comes from separating from your ex. And that can be really hard. It can be challenging. It can be, there's another layer of grief involved. I was dating someone a long time ago, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. And we were very close, and it was a very intimate relationship. But I noticed that he and his ex-wife were very good friends, and I adored her. I absolutely adored her. But they were still each other's person. And so when something happened, they were each other's first call. And eventually I was like, but why wasn't I your first call for something like this? And similarly, her boyfriend was having the same conversation with her. And fortunately, they were, everyone was mature and was like, oh, wow, shit, we didn't, we've been such good friends in our divorce that we almost didn't, get unmarried emotionally. And so they were able to make that shift, and it was really healthy for everybody. The onus is on the divorced people or the divorcing people. And if you're bringing somebody else into your life as a partner, you really need to make sure that there is room for them to become your person, right? And that can be difficult. And like I said, there's grief involved and all sorts of things. And sometimes it's just habit. I feel like my friend's boyfriend, it's just habit. And there's just not an intentionality, right? It's you're still doing this thing, but we have to be intentional about who our people are, right? I'm sure he didn't mean anything by telling his ex-wife that he's bringing his girlfriend of 2 years, to his family's Thanksgiving for the first time. But my girlfriend said to me, she's like, I just want to live my authentic life. I don't want to be in the shadows and the secrets anymore. It's been 2 years. And she should be able to live her authentic life. And her boyfriend needs to provide her the space to live her authentic life by shifting away from his ex-wife. So I hope that makes sense, because it's really important as we get into, as you get further out from your divorce and further into your new life, this level of intentionality is so important. And it doesn't mean you can't be friends with your ex. If it is safe and appropriate for you to do so, you can absolutely be friends with your ex, while also making sure that there is space for a new partner to come in at the level of intimacy that a partnership should have, right? You don't have this problem with any other friend in your life, right? So this is probably about the psychological makeup of the friendship that you might have with your ex. And if you are on the other side of this, if you're like my friend and you're dating someone new who you feel like is a little too enmeshed with their ex-partner, talk about it. Talk about it. Keep it in I language. I'm feeling like there's not a lot of space for me. I want to be your person. Now, this should not be a conversation you have in the first 3 months of your relationship, right? This is when something is established and serious. But you might say, I noticed that you and, your ex are really close. And I think that's great. Shows a wonderful character on both of their parts, right? So I think it's great that you guys are close. And I'm noticing that I feel like she's still your person in a lot of ways. And I want to be your person. I'm just wondering if there might be room for a shift in this. And, just keep the lines of communication open and allow the time to transition and allow, this could bring up some grief for them too, right? And allow for that too, right? This shouldn't be threatening. This should be, we're moving in a different direction and we need to make a little bit of a shift. There's joy in it. And in every transition, there's grief. Always. As you move towards one thing, you're often moving away from something else. Always are. And so I want to just impress upon you that there might be grief there and that shouldn't be threatening. It's just the way it is, right? So I feel like that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to touch base with you certainly about holiday stuff and, how that might be impacting you and your kids and, how you might be able to transition. I wish you all an amazing holiday season. I will, of course, be here talking to you each week throughout my book launch. The publication date is December 26th. So if you've pre-ordered it, I love you. Thank you. And it should arrive on or around December 26th. If you have not pre-ordered it, you want to pre-order it, do it. Go to kateanthony.com/dword for options on all your buying options are on there. Links to all sorts of booksellers if you don't want this to show up in your shared Amazon orders list, or run to your local bookstore on December 26th on Boxing Day and go get yourself a copy. I would love it. I would desperately appreciate it. And if you are trying to figure out how you're going to get through the holidays, or you feel like could use some support in figuring out how to keep your kids out of the middle, if you're dating someone new and you're like, this is annoying, or I can't figure out how to separate or whatever, I am here. I'm here to support you in your decision-making and divorce journey. And I very much would love to have you in my client roster. So go to kateanthony.com, take a look. Private coaching, Grit and Grace is still going, and we love it. We love it. We love it. Today, we actually had Zahn as our special guest. So I have amazing special guests coming into Grit and Grace every month. Would love to see you in either of those places. Until next time, I will see you on the interwebs.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.